winter. And
What up?
reality check. Introducing Dr. Clyde Winter. And on their name, put some respect. Yeah, yeah. I think it's time for reality check. Yeah, reality check. Gotta get you back on cold. Reality check. For the young and the old. Reality check. Yeah, here to heal your soul. Reality check. Get ready for the show.
What up, though? What up, though? You got my eyes. They're busting. Wow. How you doing there, Eve?
Hi, Dr. Winters. My guy, you are definitely ready for tonight. I'm so excited.
I don't know if I'm ready because see, this is it. Family. We're about to talk about some ish that is very, 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 very hard to think about. How you doing, Tones 5? Go travel abroad. What up, though?
Peace to the chat. Welcome. I hope you guys have some thoughts tonight because, like you said, I feel like maybe y'all thought we were going to go in one direction because of the dynamic we have going on. But I really want to go in a whole other direction, if that's okay. So, like, seasons. Dr. Winters, that's basic, right? You know, it's 4 seasons. Some places have 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that people are acclimated to each other based on the environment that they're around or that they're in?
I think that when you think about seasons and you think about people, I think it's kind of I think it's interesting because see, it's different times. You know, even when you think about your relationships, if you go back and think about your relationships, you say, you know, what makes this relationship better than another one? And see, these are things that a lot of times we don't really think about. We don't really think about the fact is that seasons. You know, was it the spring? Was it the fall? What is it today? But you know, the thing is that it's interesting. A lot of times I always think back for some reason, I always have a date when I was happy. I never liked the Four Tops. I never liked their songs. But for some reason, I always go to 1967. It seemed like 1967 was a good year, the summer. I mean, is it some year that you feel was very important or that stands out in your life?
Absolutely. And because of the different reasons why these time periods stick out to me, I don't know if there's one over the other, but I definitely have those times where maybe the summer I graduated from high school, that is always going to stick out to me because of all of the growing and learning and moving around that I had to do. But definitely, I think that I associate times in my life with the environment and what's going on. You know, if it's cold and we were hungry, that I think that might stick out a little bit more because it's cold outside. You know, we're on a scarcity mindset. But you know, if things are really good, well, actually, I think kids think about it like this. You know, they think about the good times around Christmas, even though it's cold, but you know, they're getting this abundance from their family, or some children are getting this abundance, and they're associating the time of year with this love that they're receiving. And I think that is how we look at things as people. I think we look at what's going on in our life and we associate that time with that feeling. What do you think?
I think it's true because I believe that life is a series of memories, and I always felt when my kids were little that I was trying to help them create memories so that, because I always felt that I would always tell them, I said that I'll always love you, I'm going to love you. But the thing is, this is that me and your mama might let you down one day. Me and your mama, in a sense, we may not be there for you. At that season, it may not be the right time. And so then therefore, what you have to remember is that although I may let you down, God won't let you down. Peaceable law, Jehovah, high heaven, those things. But this whole idea of seasons, when we think about seasons, we always think about seasons when it comes to human beings. We think about seasons in terms of what what the television says or what the book says. In the books that you read, the seasons usually deal with the fact that you're young. Then there's a young season, and there's an old season, and that we go through life trying to navigate these various times. How you doing, JP? But the thing is, this is that. What do you mean when you say when you're talking about seasons? What do you mean?
I mean that there is a time and a place. I'm so happy you asked. And I do think that a lot of times people are thinking that seasons are, like when people expire. I don't know if that's the best word. So you're born and then you have a life and then you die and that was your season. But I think it's bigger than that or deeper than that or smaller than that. I guess we'll figure that out tonight. But I think that as we are growing and learning and living, people come into our lives and they're here for a little while or a long while. And those are seasons to me. The time that somebody is with you, experiencing, growing, learning about you, y'all are doing things together. That's a season.
Do you think, how you doing, Bruce? Hello to you. And Jaylyn, how you doing? And Yoshimod. But when I think about seasons, it's very complicated, very complicated. When you said seasons with someone else. I don't know if you can always be with someone else. I'm alone. I was always a loner. I used to be a person who dealt with the mind. So when I was a kid, I used to feel I could do anything with my mind. I used to sit around and think. I say, I'm gonna have so and so kiss me today when I go to school. Now you're in third grade. Never nobody gonna kiss you. But I felt that with my mind I could do anything. And I felt in the sense that I was just all powerful. And so that was a season at that time. Trying to grow up, trying to develop, trying to be what I thought who I wanted to be. Because see. I think that as a man is very difficult, and because he always felt that as a man, you have things that you had to do, because see, a woman, I always felt women had it easy, even though I know this is wrong, but I always felt women had it easy because they could always get their way by crying, maybe they could always get their way if they were your mama by threatening you and making you feel that, hey, you're going to go out there. And it's going to be hard on you unless you do what I say. But I felt that as a man, you had to be different. You had to be you had to be a person who was going to take care of your family. You were going to get a job. You were going to work and be successful. You was going to try to, in a sense, be able to satisfy your wife sexually or your girlfriend sexually. These are the things that they go through your mind as the man. It's silly. It is very silly because the point is this is, is that it's not always entirely like that. But you get these thoughts. I mean, did you have these thoughts about your seasons in your life as you were getting older?
I feel like maybe similar to what you said, just with regards to learning about what it is I'm supposed to be doing. But as far as, let me think. I think what you said about being a loner might be more akin to how I am. And then from there, everybody who's come into my life, there's been a very real reason for it. And then once that reason has satisfied itself, or once we've done what we needed to do, then not that we part ways per se, but I don't know what there is left for us in this relationship. So then maybe that season, it's fall, but then we have winter at the dead of things, and then in the springtime things grow and are born, and depending on the relationship, how it was, maybe something else comes from there. But I feel like I've been very maybe transactional with my relationships with people because I'm more of a loner than I am a social person. And then I see all these people who have had friends for 20 and 30 years. And not that I don't know people from 20 and 30 years ago, and not that I'm not friends with people from 20 and 30 years ago, but that is so strange to me that so many people can have so many old relationships, but it's stagnant to me. Like nothing's happening. Like we just remember the good times and not necessarily doing anything more.
I think it all depends because see, a lot of times when you're dealing with people, most of the time people feel that they should deal with you at a certain time, at a certain place, and at a certain point in their life. And because of the factor in the sense that many people feel that okay, I'm going to college. Since I'm going to college, then and he or she is going to college, then maybe we should connect, and so then you become friends around that college thing. But these same people, they'll eventually say, "Oh, this season is over. I don't want to participate anymore. I don't think that we should really be friends. Not that I have anything against you, but I just feel that I'm moving on." And so then I think that people are always making these decisions, and because they're making these decisions, sometimes being able to make a season last is not dependent on you. Sometimes it's dependent on that other person, and if y'all can find real cognition. For example, I met a lot of people, and when I was in university, I was very enthusiastic. I became a Muslim, So then I prayed to God. I said, Feasibillah, I said, God, allow me to be your vessel. Okay. So I said, allow me to be your vessel. And I said, so send me to those people who need help and allow me in a sense to help them, accomplish their goals. Because see, I'm that type of person that I can make the invisible visible, and I can make and so that's just me. I don't know how I can do it. So God would bring these people to me. And these people, in a sense, they would always act like they wanted to do something. We're going to start this or we're going to start that. But then eventually they wouldn't really be serious. I was serious. How you doing all the way free? I was serious. They weren't serious. And so after about 10 years, I had to pray to God, please, God. I felt very ashamed. I felt very ashamed because I had to pray to God, please, I don't want to be your vessel anymore. I said, I was tired of meeting people who said they wanted to do this or said they wanted to do that. And then in a sense, but the season didn't last, you see. I'm serious.
I feel you, but that's always been the funniest thing about prayer to me. People tell me, that they're praying for something, and then you don't get that. No, you get the opposite, the exact opposite. And then it's a patience thing. Do you really want this thing? You pray for patience, and now everything is trying your patience. You pray for time, and now you have to juggle or multitask or prioritize between what's important and what's not. And then with what you're talking about, I see that all the time. People who say that they want to do something, and then they get around someone like me or you who are like, let's go. And then I don't know if they have cold feet, if they didn't think that we were serious, or they weren't ready. They just needed a confidence booster to get started or what. But I see that happening all the time. And then that makes me put them in a seasonal category, because what are we doing here? Why are we having any interactions? Not that I don't like people, I love people, and there's a time and a place, right? And that's what we're talking about. It's a time and a place for different scenarios or relationships between certain people. And I definitely feel when we get on the same page, that's money right there.
Go Travel Abroad said, "While I relate, how you doing, Akil?" But this is that they take up your time. I used to didn't think time was important. I used to didn't really think time was important because I felt that once I made 21, that the whole world was my oyster. Because I knew I wasn't going to get to be 21. I knew this. I was shot at too many times. I had guns put in my face too many times. And I'd say, fuck you, you better shoot me. But if you miss, I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm gonna fuck you up, you know. And I wouldn't say that nowadays because these young people, oh no, Eve, I wouldn't say that. No, I wouldn't say it nowadays because see, back in the day, back in the 60s, people wanted to shoot you in the back. So as long as you didn't turn your back on them, you see.
There you go, cowards.
See, but nowadays these young people, they look at these videos, they'll shoot you, blow you in the face if you
Right
tell
in the face.
See, and so I just knew I was gonna die. I knew I was gonna die, you know, because see, so then once I got to be 21, I said, hey, you know, the world is here. But then what I found is that I kept on meeting people. How you doing, Breeze Omega? You know, I kept on meeting people, and every time I met people, I wouldn't respect them.
You had a preconceived notion about how they were going to treat you?
No, I didn't respect them because I kept seeing them as being like me, because I was giving, because I was supportive, because I was kind, because I was loving, because I really believed in Black people. I really believed in our future. I really believed in a sense in Black power. I really believed in those things. I wore an afro because that afro meant something to me. But these people I was meeting, instead of me in a sense really respecting them and seeing them as the individual that they were, I often in a sense would see them as being just like me. And this was wrong because see, that's what hurts you. That's what hurts you a lot of times, is because the fact is that we won't allow ourselves to see people, you know. There's all these seasons that they come in your life, but sometimes we you know, but it's hard. I don't know. It's hard. I don't know. How was your relationships with, I'm just talking about the average person.
No, you're right. I think in general, professionally or socially, you know, I'm a social person and people like to hang out, but I'm not necessarily a hangout type of person. I really want to know how we can do more. And like you, I really believe in the fight for our justice. So a lot of my time is spent doing things that would support that. So, you know, my social circle starts to dwindle because not everybody's into the same thing. And that's okay. I don't think everybody should be into the same thing. But I do think that we should have some sort of common ground or common knowledge about what's going on. And then if we are the same people, then we would be moving forward as that people. But it is discouraging to find that you meet people who say things that might move you. And then when you're ready to move, they're not ready to move. So then, you know, it's like, well, is this season over? But maybe it's just dormant. I found that a lot of times we haven't pruned, or, you know, I don't know if people garden or have any farm knowledge, but, you know, when you're cutting away the dead or the diseased or the thing that's not working on the plant so that it can grow fruitful and be plentiful, it's scary the first time you do it, because you're left with probably half or less than half of what you started with. But that next season of growth, you really see the change. You see how it was positive, and that negative thing that you did to the plant, you know, wasn't so negative right now. And, you know, people can do the same thing with the relationships in their lives if they are intentional. And when you're intentional about why things are getting put on pause or on hold, then you can go back to those things and readdress them, or talk about it again, or see if we've come to a different understanding now that so much time has passed.
Yeah, but sometimes can we really do that? Okay, how you doing, Marsha Byron? And Breeze Omega says that's me. The 90s in Baltimore, and that's scary. It is scary. It is scary because see, you're constantly trying to be that person. You're constantly trying, in a sense, to be that person who can make the dreams come true. I've worked with people, they wanted to write books. You know, they wanted me to do introductions to books. They wanted me to give them stuff. And then in a sense, then they forget, you see, they forget. And I think that this is one of the things that's very hard in terms of being a black person. And the thing that's really hard about being a black person is this whole idea, in a sense, is that Booker T. Washington was right. A lot of times we are like crabs in a barrel. We don't want to talk about it. And a lot of things, don't talk about that. Don't talk about that, Eve. Clyde, don't talk about that. Keep that in the family. Family, we need to talk about some of these things, because these people come in our lives, they waste our time. They waste our time. You see, think about all the men you met, all came in so enthusiastic and stuff, and then all of a sudden you go on a date with them, you say, damn, why did I come out with this person? Why am I here? You see?
That is a very real connection people should make with their relationships that they have. But I don't know if people are afraid of being by themselves, or if we've just been so conditioned to be a social people that we're forgetting that we can do some things by ourselves. Just like is it John Henry Clark or Dr. Ben? Because I always mess this up. But one of them said that there's nobody coming to save you, right? And you need to look in the mirror and save yourself. And oh, go ahead.
That's what they say, but you're always looking for somebody to save you, because see, remember, I used to be, when my wife would have a baby, and I'd be in the hospital and these women would be all around saying, "You dirty motherfucker, I hate you," and you know that, but my wife would be quiet. She was a frontier woman. So every time when we had children, she never would ask for any pain relief or any of that stuff, because she was a frontier girl. And yet I would think about the fact is that, and a lot of times the doctors didn't really want to give black women any relief anyway. But what I saw is that in terms of how we feel, nobody wants to really look at how you feel, you see. And sometimes in a sense, you want to be that person that can save somebody. Sometimes you want to be that person that can put that hand out. And yet because these people feel, she did what I wanted them to do. I got what I wanted. That season is over. I'm going to go on and move on, you see. Right. But then the only problem is that, when they move on, then sometimes they want to come back, and you're saying, hell no,
Absolutely.
Hell no.
You're supposed to, because a person who is transactional like that, they already told you what you were there for. So if you allow them to come back and mine from you, then that's a self-inflicted wound at this point. But what I'm saying is that after okay, so you were talking about college, right? And you said that, people in college, they were some of them might have been like, this was cool, but I'm moving on to bigger and better things, I guess. And then they don't want to be friends anymore. But I would take that as a person who used college as an escape from whatever it is they felt like they needed to be doing anyway. And go ahead,
finish.
I was gonna say, if I was part of your escape, and then you try to come back, then we're going to have a conversation about what we're doing here. And I don't think people have those deeper thoughts about why people come back in their lives. Like your ex coming back in your life, there's a reason for that. It could be because you're doing great. It could be because they're doing bad. And it doesn't have to be because of both of them happening at the same time. It could be that they are bored with their options, and the last time anything made sense was with you, even though y'all are done and it ended however it ended. But I also know that people go back to what's easy. So when people come back and then you allow them without any recourse, conversation, or anything, then it's going to be a bunch of time wasting. And now we're 5 years later and nothing new has transpired.
But, like Marsha Byron says, that they have a lack of confidence and faith, and faith and it's normal, but you got to keep on. That's absolutely true. But I think that the thing that is really what's going on is what Go Travel Abroad said. And she says that I think it's about proximity to the subject, object, worldview. It takes a higher constitution to resist competition and community. Not only that, but I think is that many people feel, okay, I'm in college, I'm on the job. I mean, it's happened to me. It's happened to me on certain jobs. But I've worked on certain jobs, and I thought that we were really, really, really kicking it. We go out and maybe go out. Maybe we would have, as I was with teachers, so let's have breakfast on Saturday. The whole group show up, or we get it's a holiday and we had to come in late. Let's say that you had to be at work maybe at 12 o'clock. We would sometimes have a half a day, and then the people would say, okay, everybody, let's meet up at such and such a restaurant, and we'll eat breakfast, or we'll eat brunch. Then we'll go to work. And the thing is, this is that so you feel everything is just copacetic, you see. But then you find, in a sense, that once that person leaves that job, all of a sudden it seems as though they don't feel that there should be they don't feel that there should be a relationship. They automatically feel that this season is over. This season is over. And so then therefore I'm going to move on. But then at the same time, they be so cavalier about it. They act like, what was that all about? You took up my time. You see, but then people, they waste your time. I guess in relationships too, they waste your time. And then they just move on and they say, this season's done. It's wintertime. See, I'm going in the spring with X amount, with so-and-so and that one. But I really wonder if those type of people, if they really find any happiness. How you doing, C. Darling? I wonder, can you be happy like that, just using people? And I find that many people love to use you, and that's why they take up your time, and they have no intention. I believe they have no intention sometimes to really be honest, to really be forthcoming, or to really be truthful. They just want to, at that time, they feel they need you, or I don't know. Can I say that? Do they really need you? I don't know.
Maybe we are a crutch of sorts. When people who don't want to do something need somebody to tell them to do something, that could be a trainer at the gym. That could be a dietitian. A lot of people need help to do something that they need to do, and they don't like to appreciate the help. I've definitely been there where I thought that, coworkers were friendly, where we were friends because we would hang out after work. And then, like you, once they're not a part of that work environment anymore, well, kick rocks. And maybe not even kick rocks, but just no more communication. Like, I know I'm not going to see you every day because you don't work down the hall anymore, but you don't care about any of the stuff that we've talked about. You've seen my kids. We've had interactions outside of work, but those relationships made me compartmentalize. And, I'll be friendly with you at work, and I leave you at work. And, when I leave work, no, y'all are not a part of my personal social life, because I can't handle those types of disconnects. Because if we were here, coexisting this way, and it was not anything that I did or you did, it's just life has lifed us out of each other's lives. Well, it takes a big boy or a big girl to say, I'm still going to maintain this relationship.
They always say that if you're a woman, put on your big girl panties. What the hell? I had on my old man drawers. What the hell does it matter? People have they used you for that season. Is that really fair? See, a lot of times when we think about somebody using you, when we think about somebody really taking time out of your season, a lot of times we think it has to be dealing with some type of love relationship where somebody maybe use you for a booty call or something like that, or use you to be there, or use you so they can meet somebody. I mean, I can't even count the times when I was in high school and college, and people were wanting to be my friend just so I could introduce them to somebody. And then when I introduced them, they forgot Clyde. Wait a minute. I thought we was kicking it. You've already served your purpose. And see, this is the whole thing about seasons. That's why seasons always depend upon time. It always depends on how people want to relate to each other. It's what do they want to give. And you know what I find, Eve? I find that often most people really don't want to give that much.
That's very true. And they will season you out of their lives if you start asking for too much, or if you start asking for reciprocal energy. But again, I am of the mind, if if you're not who you say you are when we're going into this, then this season's going to be very short anyway. So I try to be honest with all of the people that I meet about what it is we're doing, why we're doing it. And I think that I think honest conversations can make a dynamic between people or a relationship last for a long time. I was just talking to a girl that I went to college with earlier today, and I hadn't talked to her in months. And then before that, I hadn't talked to her in years. And just talking about the past, I hate that. Not that I don't like to talk about the past or learn about the past, but I don't like to get stuck there. I really want to know where we're going, what you've got going on now. And then I find that people don't have anything going on. And that's why they don't want to talk about the now, or the now is so stressful. They're so under so much pressure to just get by, that the old times when things were a lot easier, when we didn't have all of these demands, I didn't have 5 minis running around talking about mommy, 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 everything was a lot simpler back then. And then people like to go back to those simple times.
But do you think that it may have just been an entry point? Maybe it was also an entry point. Maybe they wanted to talk about the old days because then, in a sense, just to fill you out, and then maybe down the road you would get into a much more fuller conversation. What I found, in a sense, is that it's just like my kids. A lot of times my kids say, Pops, Mama, listen. You don't listen. You always got a comment, And I said, and they said, and sometimes your comments will hurt my feelings, And I said, well, hey, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I'm just telling you how I see things. But the point is that they want to end that season in terms of that appointed time, because see, that's why everything depends so much on time. And a lot of times, when you were saying being honest, sometimes being honest can run people away from you, Breeze Omega says that they were sizing you up, for the whole time. That's true. They were sizing you up. But the point is, this sizing you up for what? And then C. Darden said, if they cannot see the value, what is in front of them, then don't be somebody sloppy seconds. That's true. But how do you know that you're that sloppy seconds? You may think that you're the firstest with the mostest. I mean, hell, I remember that time when I was in high school. So much happened in high school. And I'm gonna tell you something, Eve. This is my belief. I believe that you choose the time. You choose the time between 15 and 18, and that's the way you are the rest of your life. You choose a personality. Remember, we have so many personalities. I think a personality that you like, then you're always going to be that person the rest of your life. You see, and I think that can be kind of hard, because see, you want to believe so much. You want to believe so much in people. You want to be able, in a sense, to feel that this is going to be a long-term, relationship. It's going to be summer, winter, and fall. But most relationships, you get a real nice summer. That's when you get to know them. But sometimes spring comes so quick. What I mean by spring, it seems that even though you started off and you guys were kicking it real nice, I'm not talking about intimacy. I'm not talking about lovers. I'm talking about just relationships with people. It seems as though somehow they go through spring and then they run away from you. But Eve, do you ever feel? This is a question I want to ask you. Okay. Do you ever feel sometimes that people are trying to vampire you, that they're somehow wanting to be your friend so that they can take something from you and then move on? I don't know. What do you feel about that?
I definitely feel, I call it mining, like they're data mining. But yeah, people are energy vampires. People mine people for information and ideas, confidence, like somebody was saying in the chat. And because they're lacking themselves, or they have never been forced to grow that side of themselves. They've always had a crutch there to help them get to X, Y, and Z. But yes, if you're not careful, givers find users, and the users don't give a fuck about using. And the giver has to be the mature one in the situation, because givers turn users into, givers are enablers, never making the person do whatever it is that they set out to get your assistance with, whether it is you're starting out trying to find a job and you need somebody to help you write your resume. Well, that person goes above and beyond. So now you're like, oh, well, maybe they can help me find a job. So then you start asking for more. And them being a giver, they're, okay, yeah, I'll help you do that. Yeah, that makes sense. Let me help you. Okay, you've never been here before. Yeah. And now you've given so much, and there was never a situation inside of your initial relationship where they were going to give anything to you, because it was an assistance or a coaching moment of sorts. But then they turn that into a whole life lesson when it should have just been this one thing.
It's a lot of people like that. It's a lot of shadow people too. You have those vampires, and the vampires are easy to deal with, because a vampire person, you can tell in the sense that they want to use you. It's almost like what Go Travel Abroad said. Also, many in our community haven't seen healthy relationship building or had it modeled. TV shows love bombing and BFFs, not discernment. You're absolutely correct. But it's also these people, these relationships. What I've found over the years is that sometimes you can want to in a sense be able to really deal with somebody, but then there's some people who they make a point of wanting to use you. But see, these people, they're very smart. They want to use you, but they never ask you. I mean, haven't you seen people who they talk around stuff, but they really want you to they want you to do this or do that.
You're so smart. Yeah, being able to pick up what I need and not having to ask. Those people are very clever. And I think givers need to be very careful about their energy, because, problem solvers, people who like to get to the source of what's wrong so that we can get there. But if you're not telling me, well, now I have to guess and poke and prod, and now I'm doing all of this work when you could just tell me what's wrong. And then once you tell me what's wrong, we can go from there. But a lot of times what's wrong is something that they don't want to address, or they already know what's wrong and they need some other out. And then you're giving them the out because we're not attacking the problem. C. Darden said it reminds them of Can You Stand the Rain? I think that absolutely seasons.
Russell Richardson, look at what he says.
Opportunists. Oh, right. For sure. But look, so here's my thing, Russell and everybody else. I think that we need to be more transactional, but we need to be like how I talk about Black people need to be politically. We can't just be giving our vote away for nothing. What are we getting for this? And if we're not getting anything for it, what are we doing here? But that needs to be a quid pro quo, not just I'm giving, and not expecting anything in return. We need to be more guarded, and we need to be expecting something in return, because I don't know if y'all remember, but we were a whole commodity, right? Like they were paying for stuff with us. So if we can be tangible like that, then we should be able to look at each other as resources that can be used and should be used, because they use us all the time.
Yeah.
We start trying to use each other and we get looked at as a vampire or an opportunist, but that's a person who is not honest about what it is that they're doing here, or doesn't want to give in return.
Well, sometimes I'm a mean person, and sometimes I know people, sometimes they're my children too, but I know people sometimes they don't want to ask you for something, or they don't want you to do something because they feel they may have to pay you back. It doesn't always have to be money. You see, Doesn't have to be money. It could be an emotive feeling, an emotion. It could be in a sense just the whole idea that. And so sometimes I make people ask. Other times I can know this is what you want. I know you don't want to ask me because you might feel in the sense that it will embarrass you. But then sometimes I want to make people ask because what I found over the years, see, because I was in Black Power, I was a Muslim, and when I was in Black Power and a Muslim, oh, do this for the people, do this for the brothers. Glad Yaki, my Muslim Yaki, do this for the brothers. Get it. So I gave books away. People make it, and they never paid me one royalty. I did it for the little Muslim children. Then the Black Power people, come on, brother, come and do this lecture. I don't have no money. I don't have any money for the airfare. You can stay at my house. Okay, I do that stuff too. But then a lot of times it seems people, they use you for a season. They use you for a time. Mm-hmm. But then in a sense, they don't want to, in a sense, be there. They don't want to be there when it's time to pay back. Sometimes you have to make people. I think one of our problems is that if you're really good, if you're really nice to people, a lot of times in a sense, they feel that they don't have to ask you. And they don't want to ask you because then, see, most people know if they ask you for something, then they have to give you something in return.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that don't want to give you something in return. You see, This not only happens in so-called love relationships, it also happens in relationships at work.
Mm-hmm.
It happens in relationships within the family, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers.
Oh, for sure.
Husband, wives, you see. But then I just feel in the sense is that many people lack the awareness that, okay, yeah, you're using me for a season. You're using me for a time. But what about in a sense sometimes trying to share some of you? You know what I hate? Do you know people, Eve? Do you know people that sometimes you call them? You see? And when you call, I'll talk to you later. I got to blah, 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 blah. See you, bam. But then when they call you, they want to keep you on the phone for hours. They want to keep you on the phone and they're talking about this. And you're saying, and you do that. But then when you want somebody to listen to you, it doesn't have to be serious, but you call somebody up, you want to talk to somebody at that time. They don't have time for you, but they want to make you have time for them. These people are always, in a sense, trying to use you for a season. Everything. Seasons relate to time. Seasons relate to how we deal with each other. And it's these seasons that are reflect our interactions with people. Summer, winter, spring, fall. When we think of a season, sometimes we can have a good relationship with a friend. And this friend can be cool. And we have a nice summer, But it starts off with a nice spring that we're blossoming and the relationship is blossoming. Then we have a lot of fun over the summer. Then the fall, they stop talking so much, or they're not inviting you and your husband or you and your partner out to dinner with them or to the show or something. And then all of a sudden they don't contact you, period, or contact you at all. So that is what makes your experiences. That's what makes your life so full of these seasons. But what makes a season right? What makes a season wrong? I don't know. What do you think, Eve? What do you think makes a season right or wrong? I don't know.
I like that seasons are neutral because there's a reason for all of them, and I'll go back to the gardening aspect because it is time for me to start. I'm a little late on my seed sprouts, but every season has a reason. That rhymed. And I think that people wanting to prolong the reason for someone staying in their life without actually doing the work to make them stay there or not providing anything so that we can reap the benefits in our fall season, that harvest time. And then to use the winter time as a regrouping of sorts, because you can't be around somebody all the time, whether it's your partner or, work. Work allows you a vacation. I think that in our partnerships, our businesses, our family life, people lose themselves trying to only be one way. So there should be times of growth and learning. And maybe it's dark because it's not as social as the rest of the seasons, but you get that opportunity to kind of rest, recharge, and then attack whatever it is that we're working on in the spring. And then that's how you can make a perennial, or you can make a relationship last over and over again, as long as you are doing the work to maintain it. When we've got these people who are using us for a time and we don't know that we're being used, or we've got people who are taking all of the time and it just seems like an endless harvest for them, but it's always the dead of winter for us. That's an opportunity for us to use the winter to think about why it is that we need this person around us. Are they giving us anything that's making the next season worthwhile? Or do we have a disconnect or an attachment to not wanting to do something else? Mm. Again, I think people go back to what's easy. And then, when people aren't asking so much or not as demanding, we can stay here in this one spot without growing together. Or, when you're in college and you're partying and stuff, maybe in 10 years after that, you're not that same party girl that you used to be, or that party animal who is, drinking all the jungle juice and hollering at all the girls. Maybe you calm down from there and your college buddies only know you like this. So it's just easier to just kind of cut ties because of the association. Not that you're a different person, but you've grown, your seasons have changed. So what you said about, thinking about how you want to be when you're 15 to 18, I think that's where we start. And then as we're meeting more people, we're amalgamating, we're adding and doing this composite thing.
But I think we're selfish too. I remember when I was playing football, and now when I was playing football, and we would, you flying around the country, got your little jersey and stuff. And so you go in these restaurants. Now, and I was in the 70s when the women started wearing the little short dresses. And then, when you with a bunch of guys, y'all, having fun on the plane, then you're pinching women on their butt. And this is terrible. Now when I think about what I was doing, I said, that was really wrong. It was, Eve. It was wrong.
Different time.
But I didn't think it was wrong back then, because you got all these guys around, egging you on. Go ahead, pinch her, man. I didn't do that, and I don't know, you always feel like waiter or waitresses, they should be there to accommodate you, and it was just wrong. But but at the same time, it was cool because you're with a bunch of guys. You're young, they're young. You're 18 to 20. Mm-hmm. You're flying around. You're just having fun, and that's the whole point in terms of trying to have these relationships. All the way Free says, laughing out loud and correct. We must always watch for the sabotage of progress posing as help. You're so right. A lot of times it is people who act like they're there to help you when they're not there. C. Darden said, but you go to lunch with them or cookouts, etc. As soon as you have the company, they disappear in a puff of smoke. Sometimes they do. But, just like one day I was talking to one of my children, and they said, Pops, when I left the party, so-and-so was talking about me. And I said, so what? I said, that's what we do. I said, when you're around, we don't say nothing. When you leave, we talk about you behind your back. That's not right. I said, but that's people. As long as they're not saying nothing negative, what's wrong with that? You got to understand. I said, don't you have an opinion about people? Yeah, but I mean, they shouldn't do that when I'm not around. Well, a lot of times that's it. We don't judge people. They always say, don't judge your friends. But we are judging our friends, you see. We are judging our friends. But the only problem in a sense is that we usually don't tell them everything because we don't want to lose them. We don't want to lose. We don't want to be lost. The same thing with your wife or your husband. You don't want to lose that partner. So you go along. C. Darden said, you can be dealing with someone for years, but they never show their real face until they stab you in the back. That's true. And the point is this, is that it's not always that you're looking. It's not always that you're looking for that stabbing in the back, but it happens. And the reason that it happens is because sometimes people don't respect, in a sense, the relationship, and, it's kind of hard, it's very hard. Marsha said, maybe Maybe we still have those outspoken traits that stimulate people. But so what? 50% of them don't listen to me anyway. That's true, but you know what? You know what? Do you really want, think about this, Marsha. Do you really want them to hear everything you say? Sometimes we say things that can be very hurtful. And sometimes we say something and we wish we wouldn't have said it. So sometimes you don't want them. I remember my wife. She said, Clyde, your biggest problem. I said, what is my biggest problem? She said, you don't listen to people. I said, I do listen to people. She said, no, you don't listen to people. You see, I remember when I was working at my school. We had the big house and the little house. Okay, the big school is where we had all the kids who, single parents and all that type of stuff. And then the other school, the private school was in the neighborhood where the people had jobs and housing and all that. And their kids were very cooperative, very understanding, blah, blah, blah. And so then what I found in a sense is that what I found, this was the same school. It was Bennett, but we had a branch too. But what I found in a sense is that one of the kindergarten teachers, she said, Clyde, she was a white teacher. She said, Clyde, I like you, but you just like the average man. I said, what do you mean? She said, you're like the average man. I was just talking to you. Why don't you men listen? Why do you always want to fix everything? I said, damn. As a man, when you tell me something and it seems like it's troubling you, I feel I should want to help you. But you're telling me that I'm wrong because I want to help you. I said, why do you think like that? And she said, well, that's you men. Why can't you just listen? Do you think sometimes we make our mistake and maybe sometimes we create maybe autumn seasons because of the fact that we don't listen, or maybe we answer too much. I don't know.
No, I definitely, the whole last thing that you just said just brought back so many conversations that should have been had between me and a few people. But because of what we were talking about earlier, social circles getting smaller because interests start deviating. I'm into this, you're into this, and now we don't have time for each other anymore. But to me, the stuff that I'm into, I get offended when people aren't, or at least people who I feel know me, know how things are in life, but then that stuff's not important to them. So then I'll equate that to me. Well, I guess I'm not important to you either. And if I'm not important because this stuff's not important, then I guess we're done. And I've ended 2 friendships like that, not purposely and not like hang the receiver up on them, but just kind of stop calling because of the disconnect. And for a long time, I just kind of left things alone. I mean, before the breakup of these friendships, I kind of left things alone, knowing that they weren't into the same things as me because I didn't want to lose them. I really liked hanging out when we hung out. And I liked that it wasn't so strenuous on me. It's very easy to be around these people because they're fun and we're having fun. And for what it's worth, all of the other stuff that I'm into, we're aligned there. But then the most important thing to me, us as a whole.
But
sometimes some people don't feel the same way about our struggle.
But then that's what I call an autumn. That's what I call an autumn situation. Mm-hmm. What I mean by in autumn, that's when the leaves fall off the trees. You see, a lot of times you can be in a relationship, and you guys were very, like you said, you were close, you were running buddies. Maybe you guys used to go to the same, clubs on maybe Friday night. But then, in a sense, then after a while, just like the leaves that fall off the tree, they kind of slowly disappear. They kind of slowly don't call you, or they're not there, or they don't meet up, or they stop coming on those Saturdays and stuff. And it's hard, but I really don't understand if it's really right that we should always want people to always stay the same. People, in a way, shouldn't they have the right to be whoever they want to be? Shouldn't they have the right, in a sense, to move forward? See, Darden said, like people you meet at kindergarten with their kids. You go to their kids' parties, sometimes babysit, etc. Then you see them 12 years later at the grocery store, and you're invisible.
See, Darden, that's a hell of a point because our oldest Minnie was asking us about some of our friends' children that they had relationships with for years. But like I just said, some things for me are non-negotiable. And I hate learning about people because these non-negotiables are a very real line in the sand for me. So as far as our dealings, I'll put it in a box and only deal with you in this way for whatever it is that we're doing. And then, once that's over, because this other thing didn't quite stick the right way, I'm fine with just leaving it alone. And I had to tell her, I said, yeah, they're doing good because they are. We've seen them, but we don't hang out anymore. She doesn't have that relationship with my friend's daughters anymore, and that made me so sad because, again, I don't feel like my non-negotiables are so much, but I know that that's everybody. I feel like people have things that they are not going to bend on. And when they find someone who isn't going to bend, they're willing to just leave it alone because it's easier than trying to make it work. And at least for those two situations and relationships, it was a lot easier to just let them do what they're going to do without me, because I don't want to be this negative Nancy. I don't want to be raining on your parade all the time. And if every time I'm around, you think that our conversations are going to go here, because sometimes they do. And that's never my fault, right? If the math ain't math, then we're going to start talking about the math. But, people, they get tired of that stuff sometimes. And they want to talk about more stuff. That's why I'm glad we're having these talks, because it's bigger.
That's because sometimes you don't want the math to add up. Sometimes you want 2 + 1 to be 4. Sometimes you want 3 + 6 to be 10. Yeah. You want to branch out. See, Darden, he's kind of, this is what your daughter was thinking about. If you have true friends, that is worth more than gold. But we have very few of us have friends. Very few of us have that true friend. Just like my sons, they have one friend that they've had ever since they were a child. But he's all the guys' friends. And so, but the point is this: is that what do you want? What do you want out of life? Like his daughter. We used to call her Lady. Because she went away to college, and she was going to she was going to be a doctor. And the thing is this: is that she was the brains. She was the brains in the community. Just a sweet girl, Marsha Byron says, "Thank you for reminding me to start some seeds. See, you did a good deed tonight."
There you
go. And but the thing is this: so she went to college, and then she went to college and she met this Hebrew brother, and then next thing you know, she stopped going to school and he finished school. But she was the brain. She was the brains, and everybody expected Lady to be Lady. I'm not going to say her name. Lady to be the doctor in the future, but now she's the homemaker. And then you wonder, when I got married, I didn't ever want to get in between whatever my wife wanted to do. I wanted her to do what she wanted to do so she could feel good, because I was doing what I wanted to do. I was doing what I wanted to do, so I wanted her to be able to do what she wanted to do. But often when people join these cults, or when they join movements, a lot of times, in a sense, they want to allow their partner to really be who they are. A lot of times they want to just keep their partner in a spring setting where they can keep that partner, keep them down, but they don't want the summer to come so that their partner will grow up, that their partner will branch out, that their partner will blossom. They just want to keep their partner down. And I find this especially true when it's a man and his woman, because see, I found many men in a sense are afraid of their women. It's just like in the beginning that when a woman had a period and we put her in a house somewhere, you go over there, don't be around me because I'm scared of you. And the thing is this: is that it's the same way when a man gets a partner. He's so afraid that she's going to make him relax. See, most men don't want to relax with their woman. They don't want to relax because if they relax, they feel, she's won.
Right. She's
won. And so a lot of times, in terms of these seasons and our experiences and times, a lot of times it's this give and take. It's where can you build up a relationship, even with friendships? How do you create a season that can move from springtime into summer without going into autumn? And see, this is the problem, is that often we go through these cycles where everything seems cool, everything seems possible, but then all of a sudden they either disappear or they do something to make you angry. I remember I'm not gonna mention names because a lot of these people are dead, you know. And so then this brother, you know, I used to hang around with him, you know, when I was in the Black Power clique, you know. Oh yes, even though a lot of brothers said I had died in 1990, I was still alive, but they said I was dead. And so this particular brother, we used to back then I would go to conferences. I didn't pay any damn money. They paid my ticket. I just flew and I would present. So one time this brother, he called me. He was a professor at Howard University. And so then he said, Clyde, Yaki. You know, that means brother in Arabic, Yaki. You know, we're having a conference down at the University of Illinois, and we want you down here. I said, my wife is sick. I'm not going to leave her. He said, we want you down here. Mm. See, and so then that night I had a dream, and in the dream, you know, I said, let me see your Quran. And when he gave me his Quran, it was full of all these different women, because, you know, him and some of the Arab brothers, you know, they was always getting a little nookie on the side at the hotel. These are supposed to be righteous Muslim brothers from the East and from Africa. You know, I mean, they supposed to lead us, and they cheating on their wives or whatever. But the whole point is this, so after that, I didn't come. And so after that, then they stopped inviting me, you know, to the conferences and stuff. Mm. And so I felt bad, but I understood that my wife was going to be with me. And she was going to be with me through thick and thin. And if they could start being my friend just because I didn't come down to some silly ass conference, mm-hmm. You see, but it was just control. People, do you think, I don't know, family out there in the audience, in the chat, do you think a lot of times people be your friend because they want to control you? I don't know. What do you think, Eve?
I definitely think that goes back to the users and givers conversation that we were having earlier. Some people are out to use you. That is their function, because they haven't grown from, I don't mean to be mean, but it seems like they haven't grown from this infantile state of needing people to do for them. Living inside of a system that is constantly saying, fuck you every day. I get it. You know, you want help. But then I think about, you know, the movie Predator, like Alien and Predator, the movie Predator. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's kind of us. Like, we're Predator. Like when you go and look for help, it's not there, but the help's always there. You know what I mean? Because like they would just kind of show up, but Predator was always by himself, you know, doing what he needed to do. There's a mission at hand, and until you do what you need to do, nobody else is coming. This is your cross to bear. This is your struggle. And then you find people who don't want to carry their load. They want somebody else to carry their load. So maybe they start walking close to you, and then maybe that load starts, you know, finding its way to your back, and we're walking the same way, but their load's gotten real light and my load got real heavy. And I don't know when that happened, except for when you started walking with me, things started getting very heavy. And
those people, but aren't those the people who do you know any people? And it took me a while to get to understand these folk, you see. And these people, I'll call them hurricane people. What I mean by hurricane people is that they will call you and they will dump on you something that's really upsetting to them. They'll dump it on you, and you're feeling sorry for them. And the next time you talk to them, they don't even act like it was a problem. Oh. But they.
Not sure what happened.
Move away, then I don't really feel that's fair. And yet there's a lot of people like that to just call you. They tell you a big old problem, and then the next thing you know, how's things? Are you okay? Oh, what are you talking about? You were just telling me about this yesterday, or
Mm-hmm.
what do you mean? I don't remember. Do you think they're faking, or what do you think it is that they're doing?
I don't think it's fake. I think that they're so engulfed in their feelings that they need to word vomit or just let it out. And then they call the person or people that they know can handle it. Um, I've been there. I've been on the receiving end of those phone calls, and I guess it's a masculine quality that you were just talking about, that problem solving. You start whining, griping, bitching to me. I want to know how we can get to the solution because I don't want to hear all that. I don't want to hear it. But people, I've learned, need to vent sometimes. So with my friends and family, I've let them know up front, please, if you need to vent, just let me know before you start going. Because if there's really a problem, I really want to help you solve it. And if this is just a bitch session, that's cool too, because I know sometimes we need a soundboard. I want a soundboard when I want to just bitch about something. I know it's not going anywhere, but I just need to let it out. And I feel like that makes it better for when you were so upset about something and then the next day it's all cake. It's not fake, it's just what was pressing on them at the time, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen that picture? It's like it's like two not stick people, but one of them has a really bad day and the other one, they're both blank figures, and the one with the bad day has like this dark stuff in their hands, and then they give it to the other one. Now the dark transfers, and I hate the subliminals with dark being bad, but essentially, they're giving their bad energy array to this other person, and they can kind of go skip through life like nothing's wrong. But then the person they dumped on has all of this negativity with them, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta let that out.
And it's so true. And you just say, why don't they just leave you alone? Marsha Byron says, I would try, Dr. Winters, to behave myself. I always respect people to move on because I have written people off, to write people off. And sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's good to get people out of your life, and because sometimes, in a sense, if you're not feeling good about someone, they're not making you feel good, you should get them out of your life, And then, Breeze Omega said, my wife was my friend and my everything. That was the same thing with my wife was my friend and my everything, but she was more than that because I want my wife. And the thing is that I always hear people say, I want it. No, I want. Yeah. And because the fact is that she made me whole. She made me happy. I hear people tell me, what does a woman bring to the table? I don't know. What my woman brought to my table was she brought me happiness. And it's happiness that you want, It's happiness that I think life is all about. Russell Richardson said, you are lucky to acquire 3 friends during your lifetime. We must learn to distinguish friends from acquaintances. Yes. We should. But the vast majority of people, they appeared to be a friend at first, but then they ended up really being an acquaintance. Was that right? And it's very good. Breeze Omega says it's 2 years now since her departure. Mm-hmm. My wife has been gone for 4 years, and I was thinking about that. But at the same time, like when my wife first died, it was weird because when my wife first died, it was like I would get in my bed and I could feel her getting in the bed with me, But then maybe it was a ghost. I don't know. But the point is that friendship is very important, and it's hard. It's very hard to make friends. When I was working, I was teaching at county jail, and so it was a white lady. She would come in and she would talk to the prisoners, and then one day she was mad. She said, Clyde. I said, what's the problem? She wants to be my friend. She told one of the other people would come in to work with some of the guys, tutor them and stuff. And I said, what's wrong? What's wrong with her? What's wrong with her wanting to be your friend? She said, I already have my friends. But then I thought to myself, you're going on 60. You're going on 60. Your friends are going to be gone pretty soon. Don't you want to make some new ones? And I think that's another problem is that some people they become they have a stagnant season in the sense that they'll meet people and they won't let any other people come into their lives,
Yeah, no new friends. I get that. it's a task. People will do this with dating. You know, they don't want to get back into the dating field because they hate questions like what's your favorite color, or you know, what's your favorite food. These beginning relationship questions that we are having to do because we don't know this person. And it's a lot easier to not learn someone all over again. But like you said, you know, I think if you're getting up there, you know, people are not really understanding the lonely aspect of it all. Maybe you outlive everybody else. You
Yeah,
might want to make some relationships with
that's
some
what it
people.
that's what it seemed like to me. But you're blocking it. Okay, Breeze Omega said just by nature, if you do something big, all of a sudden these folks ain't your friend. Yeah, that can sometimes happen. A lot of times people don't want to see you move any further because of that whole thing. We go back to what Booker T. Washington said. Go Travel Abroad said absolutely control is a disease. It's a delusion. Settlers sought to control nature, and we're contagious. Shoot, true. Settlers did do this, but it's not just them. We have these people who are contagious. They're contagious because the fact is that they spread on us their vampirism. They become shadow people. Where they just in a sense come in and out of your life. Haven't you ever seen people that just come in and out of your life? Wait, wait, why are you back? You know, and then sometimes we allow people to come in and out of our lives, and we feel that they need us, and they really don't. Family. Eve wants to talk to you about what she's doing. You want to go ahead and present that?
Yeah, I can do that. So you guys, I don't know if you know or not, but we do Sunday school on Sundays. And it's not church related as much as I just really liked how Black people can take something and make it our own. And I've never heard of a white Sunday school until I had known and been in a bunch of Black churches who had Sunday school. So we took that and ran with it. Sunday school is for us to learn about us. It's really for the minis, but it's family oriented. We meet every Sunday at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. This is the information. It is patreon.com/FBA Sunday School. If you wanted to join now, we have a couple memberships that are still at the discounted rate. But you know, if you can't get in on the $25, you can get in on the 30, or just send me a message and maybe I just open up the $25 one for anybody who joins from listening to this program. But we have a good time. The students are so intelligent. They ask the most thought-provoking questions, and then we take that information and we give them the tools that they need to exist with these other people who are getting culturally based information. I get told all the time that I'm xenophobic, and I think that's hilarious because I feel like people are xenophobic against us. From there, they've completely switched what these words mean and how we're supposed to be proud of who we are. Learning from people like Dr. Winters and other master teachers, we've put together a curriculum of sorts that talks to them about us and who we are and what we're supposed to be doing as a people. We've had Dr. Winters come through for one time for a Reticesi in December, and definitely want to get him to come back out. But we do have guest lecturers who come through and we'll talk with the minis for that hour. And if you have any questions, just let me know, and I would be more than happy to share the information with you as I get your questions. But we really enjoy it. I don't know if y'all know Isla off of Twitter Spaces, but Isla is my co-teacher, and we go into Mr. Neely Fuller's code book, talking to the students about really basic things, because as we all know, if we don't understand the system, it will confuse us. And then from there, they've taught us things that I think that we should be paying attention to as adults and parents. Maybe your child doesn't ask all of those questions, but these other kids are definitely asking those questions. And I just really enjoy it. And I think that you guys would too. So
it is enjoyable because when I made the video for them, they had some very good questions. It's fun, because see, you need that energy. You need that energy from kids being able to be expressive. Because see, what you find is that often in the public schools, a lot of teachers are not forthcoming. A lot of teachers want to allow kids to ask them questions. But
Mm-hmm.
see, that's the difference between a black child and a white child. A black child, they in a sense want to ask you questions. Some of them are very silly questions. A white child, on the other hand, white children, that they want to be individualistic. They don't like to work in groups. They want to get the work done by themselves. Whereas you find that sometimes black children, they may prefer to work in a group. Not only may they prefer to work in a group, is that sometimes you can get them to open up and talk about things that they wouldn't normally talk about. And so I found in a sense that working with these kids is important. I'll be honest though, when I was teaching, I used to like to teach upper grade or high school, because I felt that I was a cognitivist. Because I felt I was a cognitivist, I felt in a sense that kids, when they're in high school and upper grade, they're ready to think. Whereas in a sense, I felt that the younger kids, they don't like you to touch them. They don't like you to they don't open up to you. They don't tell you everything.
Yeah, I have the most opposite experience, but that's probably because you're a man teacher and I'm a woman teacher.
Yeah.
The age group that I'm teaching now, I used to teach middle school, which I like that age group. That's when they're really starting to push boundaries. And I like that because they've never gotten an opportunity to do that before. They're learning advocacy at this point. But now I teach at second grade, elementary school. And they're very hands-on. They want hugs all the time. They want this hand-holding thing. But the director of the school is a man, and they don't treat him like that at all. I mean, they give hugs and stuff, but it's very much business when he's at the head of the class teaching.
Well, that's because when I used to teach, I used to always wear a shirt and tie all the time, and I wore that for a reason, because when you wear a shirt and tie, little kids, they don't want to hug on you.
Every time I'm dressed nice, I get grubby fingers. Ah.
Well, see, they used to say that elementary school teachers died young because they always getting snotty noses. And people wiping, the kids wiping their mucus on you and stuff. I do in chemistry, black magic, but again, in a sense, it is very important. Here's something from chemistry, black magic. Autism is real. Yeah, I used to teach special education. Autism is real. One of the reasons that a lot of kids, there's a lot of autistic kids. For a while they tried to say that people who are good at math, that their children were autistic. You see, and that it was a relationship between being good in math and then having an autistic child. No, that's not what the relationship is. What's happening is that a lot of parents, they're letting people give their kids shots as soon as they're born. A kid shouldn't get a shot until at least 5 to 6 months, until they get adjusted to this environment. And that's why you find so many autistic kids. And see, a lot of people who go to college, remember, when you go to college, you become dumber. What do you mean? What are you talking about, Dr. Winters? I'm sorry to say, but when you go to college, you become dumber because you feel that you're so smart that you should go along with what other smart people tell you to do, i.e. doctors. You see? And a lot of people, their kids are autistic or in special ed because of the fact that they're taking those shots too young. They're taking those shots before they see. You had to become acclimatized to the environment. Your kid has to become a part of the environment. Your kid has to get some germs. You see?
Yes.
But a lot of places now, I heard, they want to get the kids the shot as soon as they're born.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
really hospital. It is an attack on people's common sense, I think, because of what you just said. And they don't even have to be college educated, but they're very trusting of the system that says that you're only knowledgeable if you've got X, Y, and Z credentials. And then from there, you're not knowledgeable if you don't have those credentials. I love that you've been able to work inside of the system because you've got the credentials that people say that you need to have the knowledge and backing that you have. But I know that you've also gone further than, what you were expected to do to get the credentials that you have.
Well, see, I had a good principal because see, I had left the Chicago Board of Education because I had to sub a lot in my earlier years, and I wasn't making that much money subbing, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
then and so then I was teaching at county jail, and then this principal called me, and you know, and he wanted me to teach Black history. When my wife saw that job in the Sun Times, said, "That's your job," you know, because and you know because I'm the Black history man. So then I went in for the interview, but I'd already worked at Iowa State University, and they had blacklisted me for 5 years.
Mm.
5 years they had blacklisted me, and so then so when I got the job, you know, I decided that I wasn't going to go off I wasn't go off what people said I was supposed to do based on being hired. You
Mm.
see, I was going to wait till they told me what to do, and you know what? I didn't get to teach Black history.
That's how they do it to you too. They get the teacher in the door and then they switch it up on you.
Yeah, they wanted me to teach self-contained 8th grade, and that was cool, you know. And so I started teaching self-contained, and so I could still add Black history when I was teaching.
Mm-hmm.
When I was teaching, you know, stuff. But I really loved it because I got to work on Common Core state standards for social studies, and then oh wow. In 1999, I got a chance to write the world history lessons.
Nice.
For the Chicago Public Schools. I got to write the world history lessons. And so then, boy, they were Afrocentric to the T, baby. Baby. But then what happened is that they wanted lessons, and it was supposed to be based on this textbook, but the Board of Education decided they didn't want to, in a sense, buy the book, and that was kind of sad because I had wrote those beautiful lessons, and it was. I mean, hey, I was gonna have everybody Black Power, even the white kids. You know,
I had an opportunity to work on the standards for social studies in Virginia a couple of years ago, and it was such an experience to be with these educators from all over the state and to hear their experience with the students. And the whole time I'm telling them that a lot of your disconnects are happening because y'all are teaching a bunch of bullshit. And they don't like to hear that because they've been indoctrined too. So I've found a lot of well-meaning white people who go into teaching because they care about education and they've been teaching by the book for so many years to have this traumatizing experience finding out, you know, that Thomas Edison had the light bulb wouldn't be the light bulb without Louis Latimer. And I've seen people cry just straight up. I didn't know that we were lying. And, you know, but then you can take something really simple that everybody knows. George Washington had slaves. Okay, but he's a founding father. Let's break that up for a moment. But then they don't want to have those conversations either. So every time they would come up with a standard that needed to be addressed, it was like, okay, well, we need to look at the whole picture before y'all try to put this in stone. And I felt like I was pushing back at every turn, and not just because I'm Black empowered, but just the information was wrong. Yeah, and I've been in the classroom with these students that have completely checked out, and they checked out because they know that this is some bullshit. You know, they know if you've taught your students that Mansa Musa comes over from Africa to America with all of this gold, but then you can't tell them anything more about what happened on his journey, who came after him, you know, with regards to who took over when he left. But then you want to tell them that the only Black people in the world are in Africa or over here, and you're only over here because we brought you over here. But you already told them in kindergarten that Mansa Musa had all this gold. Like, they start saying that shit doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. But then they can't articulate that because they're 7. They just know that what you just taught me 2 years ago is not matching up with what you're teaching me now about Virginia studies. And they just don't want to ask any more questions.
You know, Russell Richardson said, I fell in love with my first grade teacher, Mrs. Sanders. However, Did you say Miss Henderson? I don't know. But anyway, however, the height and age difference doomed the relationship. You got that right. But you
Yeah.
know what I found in a sense is that what I hated when I would go to schools, I would go to school, and then they would say teach the social studies curriculum, and then I don't know if this ever happened to you, Eve, but teach the social studies curriculum, and then I would say, where is the curriculum written? They don't have no damn curriculum. I've been to so many schools over the years, and they didn't have a curriculum. They didn't have, in a sense, they didn't have these things developed. You know, and what I like, I when they came out with state standards, I worked on that too. I had so much fun. I had so much fun working on state standards. I had fun working on, and then when Common Core came out, I had fun working on those and talking and working with other people. You know, and I said, damn, you know, this is what makes it bad, Eve. And family, this is what makes it bad. But listen to me now, family. You may not believe this, but often God gives you every dream that you wanted. It may not be exactly the way you wanted it, but a lot of times you get every dream you wanted, but it may not be all the way you wanted it to be. And this is the problem. I want it to be the way I want it to be.
You got to be more specific, Dr. Winters. It's like the genie in the bottle, right? You ask for $1 million, but then you find out that the cost of you to get the million, right? It's like, now you got to be very specific about those wants. But I love that. That's manifesting, right?
Yeah. And I just felt, I really felt good, family. Really felt good working with standards. I felt good being involved in that because, see, I decided, and this is, you know, I think you brought this up once before. I wanted to be an explorer when I was 10 years old, and I couldn't explore anywhere. So I decided I was going to make history. I was going to make history. I was going to be the first one to discover. I was going to be the first one to discover anything in history. Nobody, white, black, green, or blue, is going to discover it before me. And you brought up an important point when you talked about Mansa Musa. Yeah, Mansa Musa had all that gold, but then they don't want to talk about Abu Bakari, who brought 25,000 people. 25,000 people to the Americas.
Where'd they go, Dr. Winters? They just poof. They
went to Brazil. They went up and down the coast. See, that's the thing. I found the answers. That's why I ended up writing 40 books. Well, 50 really. But half of them I already wrote. Yeah. I wrote, let me see. I wrote 5 books before my wife died. Then after my wife died, then I wrote since she died, I wrote about 40 since she died. Because I don't have her to stop me. Back in the day, if I would go and start writing, she'd say, Clyde, bring your ass back up here. Sit down. What I'm coming up there for? You better get your ass up here.
Are you gonna miss out?
Hell, I still might miss out. Damn. Hell, you know, hell.
That's real. I'm learning so much at the school that I'm teaching at because it is Black centered, and a lot of this information I didn't get as a child. I try to tell our minis this all the time, you know, just to appreciate the fact that they're getting it all now. And then, you know, they're going to go back to it. They don't have to memorize it all right now.
What does the school go up to? What grade level?
9th grade.
Oh, well, that's bad. Because then when they get to 10th grade, then they got to forget it all because if they bring it up, they're going to have people picking on them and stuff.
No, but see, I love that because what's happened is the students who've matriculated through his program and have stayed, parents who are thorough and comprehensive, where what I mean is what they're learning in school is the same thing that they're learning at home, because that doesn't happen all the time. You know, sometimes the parents know that the child needs this, but then they're not versed in that. So then they put them somewhere to get that knowledge. So then there's a disconnect. So that does happen sometimes where they go to high school and, you know, everything that we've taught kind of gets put on the back burner. But more often than not, our students are coming out and going really fast through high school and getting that done. And then they're on to enterprising thoughts, the way that he's got this program set up is they've had business proposals in the second, third, fourth, fifth grade. You know, they know that they need to be thinking about making jobs and creating jobs versus going and being an employee. But there's nothing wrong with working for somebody either. You know, there's all sorts of different ways that we can operate inside of this capitalist society. But I think that when they're learning who they are from the beginning, they have a confidence that these other students don't have. So whether they are not using the knowledge in their day-to-day, or they are, the confidence builder that they had being around all Black people, Black educators who care about what's going on with them, and then their peer counterparts never having that, or maybe they had one teacher and it's always like a substitute teacher, someone who's not going to be there all the time, where they've had this meaningful relationship where the teacher cares about what it is. Or it's like in kindergarten, like what Mr. Richardson said, you know, you have that one caring teacher from 25 years ago that's supposed to get you to adulthood, and you've got 20, I'm sorry, let's make that math. So you've got like 12 years of school where only one of the teachers gave a damn. And that's supposed to make you a productive adult.
It can. Everybody, I think everybody that's successful has at least one teacher that came in a season in their life that made their life wonderful. Like I always think about I like comparative linguistics, and I always feel that my teacher, Mrs. Jimenez, she was a Puerto Rican, you know, brown Puerto Rican lady, and she used to always she used to always teach us phonetics, because I studied French with her for 4 years, and I was a D- student. I always got a D-, you know, and but when I went to the University of Illinois, I could speak French and read French and write French better than the people getting a master's degree. I knew my French, but what I liked is that that when I was a freshman, she sent us to the University of Illinois Circle campus, and that's when we was around these other white kids taking French, and we had to learn how to waltz, and we had to and I just loved French. You know, I loved French so much. In fact, you know, it was a store in Chicago called Marshall Fields, and Marshall Fields. Whenever you would go into Marshall Fields, you would come in the door, and then they would point you down to the basement. And I had never been above the basement in Marshall Fields, because all the Black people had to go to the basement. So I studied French, and my wife, she took a year of French, and so then we decided we were going to go down to Marshall Fields and talk French. Boy, we got to ride up the escalators all over the place, and, you know. And so Dr. Short was saying, "Wow," he said, I loved Marshall Fields, and because he said he was there with a white family and he got to go upstairs. That's because you got to go upstairs because you was with the white family. We got to go upstairs because we were pretending to be Africans. And, oh yeah, you know, it's so much. That's the beauty. I love growing up in an urban area, because growing up in the urban area, you knew where Black and white people stood. You knew with certain parts of town, you better not be over there. I don't care what season it was. If you was over there and they caught you, you may not come back alive, and they could get away with killing you in those places. But the thing is that it's very important that we understand, we think about our children. And I think that's the hardest thing. What do you think about seasons when it comes to your kids? It's kind of hard, because as a mom, you seem like you're a real mom. And by being a real mom, you want to talk to your kids. You want to talk to them and educate them. You know, a lot of moms aren't able to talk to them and educate them, their kids, because a lot of moms, they feel overwhelmed by the simple fact they got to go to work. Then they get home, everybody wants them to cook, and they just don't have that time to really talk to their kids. But I find that moms who can talk to their kids have better growth, better development. That doesn't mean they're always going to be good, because most of your kids forget what you try to teach them. Because I never forget one day we were having a Thanksgiving dinner, and my second son came up. What up, no? Naughty. So I went over to the car, and he let down the window. And And you know what type of smoke it was. I said, man, I didn't ever smoke no. That was you, Pops. I love you, but hey, this is me. But that's it. See, but now he's with his family, got his wife, he's raising his children, and then he does something different. So the point is this: is that you're preparing. How you doing, Nadi? You're preparing in a sense your children for a future, and these different seasons. But how do you have that ability? You work. I know you said that you get off early, but how are you able, in a sense, to work and then be able, in a sense, to still be able to spend time talking to your kids and trying to help them to grow up and develop? How do you do that?
That's a really good question. And I'm glad we got there because I'm going to go left before I go back to what you were talking about. I have a lot of friends who have a disconnect between themselves and their parents. And it seems seasonal. Some people have left their parents to whatever it is that they're working on because they feel as though they've gotten everything that they need to get from them. You got me to 18, or you birthed me, and okay, now I'm out here and I'm gonna do my own thing. But I think that if you're able to get through the growing pains of your child finding themselves and learning themselves, then that relationship will, it'll never be seasonal. It'll be a lasting relationship. So how do you do that? My biggest thing, and people hate me for this, but my biggest thing, I love to play with my kids or with the minis. And I really mean play with them. We go to the playground, we go to the beach, we are active. And I can't even take credit for the amount of talking that they do, because in our dynamic, I'm the quiet one, and there's a lot more talking coming from Baba, and I allow it because I didn't have that relationship or dynamic at all. My dad didn't rear me or my brother, so they have their father, and I'm like, I'm gonna let him do whatever it is he feels like he needs to do for them, because I don't know what that's supposed to look like. But inside of that, he supports me wanting to play with them, and so then we all play. We're all active. We are all going to do whatever the activity is. But then, like you said, people say, well, I'm tired. I just got off work. Eve, you work half a day. You have time to do that. I actually don't, because I'm never off. I have other things that I'm working on all the time. So when the minis come home at 5, they really are looking at me like, food time. What's up? You got the food? And a lot of times, like, no, not quite. I'm not ready for you yet. You got homework to do. Like, what do you need to do? And then we can reconvene at food time.
But it's good. It's good to play with the kids. Natty says, I encourage my little ones to take apart the old electronic toys and see how things work. I think that's important. I think it's good to play games. But see, I was saved by my wife, because see, I wanted to raise my kids like my mother raised me. Give me a good belt, give me an iron and cord so I could whoop some asses. And that was it. Discipline, But then my wife said, no, you can't do that, Clyde. I said, well, I just want to whip them with iron and cord. She said, well, you can't whip my kids. My kids too. But then she said, Clyde, it's okay to spank them, okay, but when they get 14, you got to try to be their friend. What are you talking about? You got to start trying to talk to them. And I'm glad she did, because now my sons, they come around me. Lately, they call, and the thing is that's good. They don't have to, but see, I'm lucky, because see, here's the thing, Eve. I understand that my wife did not have to have any children for me. I could, in this season in my life, I could be all alone. There's a lot of people living in tents, a lot of people living downtown, a lot of people living under bridges, and they don't have any children, or when they had children, they push their children away from them.
Mm-hmm.
But my wife taught me that I should try not to always just be such a strict disciplinarian person, and try to, in a sense, allow them to express themselves. So even when they was little.
That's a good woman, Dr. Winters. I've heard the same story from other people, where the woman has told the man that he needs to kind of calm down, and not like don't be a man, but you're gonna want them to take care of you later. So maybe we should
Maybe.
take consideration about how we're doing things now. And as they get older, some things are gonna be unforgivable. You can't spank a 16-year-old. I mean, I guess you could, but that same 16-year-old is gonna have a thought about, can I take you? Like, are you really about to raise a belt to me when I could take you?
Well, one day, one day, one of my sons wanted to wrestle with me, and then my wife looked at me, so I had to flip him over. But the thing is this is that you always have that one, but the most important thing is that it's very difficult. It's very difficult because see, so many seasons come into your life, and so much. Like I always loved my father. I miss my father a lot. Crazy about my old man. Daddy was cool, but the thing is this is that he was different from me in the sense that my kids, even when they were little, if I did something wrong, I would say I'm sorry. I let them know I was sorry. I let them know in the sense that I wasn't everything. I let them know that God was everything and that God was there. I might let them down, but I always said that God was there and stuff. And Marsha, I'm getting tired of you. Marsha, I'm getting tired of you. She said thin pancakes filled with strawberries and cream cheese. Stop! Look at me! Look at me! That's what happened to me. Stop, Marsha. You better stop it. You better stop it. You're making me get hungry.
I thought about you when I made some pancakes the other day, Dr. Winters.
You made some round pancakes? I
made some round pancakes. I was going to send you a picture, but I didn't want to just throw it in your face.
You could have threw it in my face. I'm old. I don't care. Sure. Hey, you better show it to me quick because I might not be there tomorrow. But
no.
But this whole idea of seasons is very important. But it's just that when you think about people, you had those springtime people, those summer people. I don't like the autumn people because the autumn people, they just disappear. Mm-hmm. They just disappear, and you don't know, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
You see, and I know you guys are, what are you worried about? What are you worried about somebody not communicating with you? We're human beings, we're people. See, in the old days, the man would be when his wife had a baby, and they would call him, come in, brother, and he would grab the umbilical cord and bite. That's a lie, but it sounds cool. And bite it. You see, because we're human beings. You see, everybody else when they're born, and they come out of their mother's womb, they just get up and start walking. But we're the only species that had to be cut away. Mm-hmm. We had to be cut away. You had to cut away that baby. You see, that baby needs to be nurtured. That baby needs to be loved. That baby needs to be talked to. And the thing is that sometimes we forget. And I'm so thankful that my wife, was ready to give me children. She didn't have to give. Nowadays a woman don't have to give you children. They can take some pills. They can get abortions. Even though if you get an abortion, you just don't see the baby, but the baby still be in heaven because it's the first law of thermodynamics. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, and so that if you get an abortion, the baby don't come on this plane, but the baby still exists. Mm. And so then, my wife, we was talking to Psychic Sandy, and so Psychic Sandy said, hey, your brother's really excited about you, and he's so happy, and he just really loved how your life is going. And then my wife said, oh, you mean Sonny? Because Sonny was the one who was dead. And then she said, oh no, not Sonny, your other brother. And she said, I don't have another brother. But then she remembered that her mother had a miscarriage.
Oh.
And so then that other brother must have been the miscarriage because they still even though you get an abortion, that baby still is with you or still around you. Mm-hmm. They just don't be on this plane. See, nothing is created is lost. Any word you say, that word is going to still exist. See, and so then even though you get an abortion, the baby still exists. It's just not on this plane. That's why when people get upset about abortions, that's nothing to get upset about. The people, they had to deal with it the way they had to deal with it. You see, but the point is that it's very difficult. And nowadays they say that a baby cost you $100,000 to take care of. You see,
Mhm.
I had 6 kids. Damn, they would have been in the damn street.
No, that just means you was a mini millionaire. That's how you gotta look at it. You know, $600,000. You almost to $1 million.
That's what my wife used to say. I said, she said, you got $1 million in love. I said that I want money. So
Give me money.
Damn, that's what I do got you, baby. I'm okay. But the thing is, this is that seasonality. I think that it's hard to navigate in this world. What makes it hard to navigate in this world is the many seasons. The many seasons that we go through. We don't just go through seasons in terms of we get young, we're young, we grow old, and then we die. You see, but then we have these other seasons with people coming into our life. Seasons with our children. You know, I guarantee your children are going to talk about those games. Like my kids, a lot of times they say, "Yeah, remember, Mama used to do this and do that." And, you know, we used to play this. And remember, we used to cook gingerbread cookies and cookies around Christmas. Because like I told you, when I became a Muslim, my wife, I said, will you be a Muslim too, baby? I said, I'll be a Muslim, but don't say shit to me about Christmas. I said, okay.
Right. That was the compromise.
And so then that's the beauty of it. It's the beauty of allowing your mate, your partner, your children, your friends to be who the hell they are. Sure. Let's leave them alone. Leave them alone. Let them be who they are. If they're evil, well, they be evil by themselves. But if they just want to do their own thing, let them do their own thing. You know.
I'm with it. I think that you know, it's a control thing, like we were talking about earlier. People feel like they can control their children because it's their children, without realizing that you only have them under your control for a little while, and the things that you might be trying to control them with, there's going to be societal factors that are going to be more enticing than whatever it was that you were offering them, just on a fact that somebody else is offering it to them for less than what you told them that it cost. So whereas right now, all of them have a spelling test tomorrow, but only 3 of them have studied the way that they need to study, and 2 of them have not studied at all. So I know
we couldn't teach spelling after 2008.
Really?
No, it was again. We couldn't teach spelling. No, you couldn't teach spelling. You couldn't teach handwriting.
Well, and I know the cursive thing has been gone. And
yeah, well, they didn't want you to teach spelling either. That's why kids don't know ish. That's why when I was teaching university, my students didn't know that I wasn't good in grammar because they didn't know ish anyway. So when I graded their papers, I still knew more than them. I passed 6th grade English. English. You know, Natty says when they didn't want to eat dinner, I would show them pictures on Google of the many kids with way less. My kids, they don't like onions, and they didn't like garlic. So what my wife would do is that she would buy onion powder and garlic powder and the garlic and the onion flakes, and then put in the food. They say, "Oh, this tastes so good." I say to myself, "You said you don't like onion," but they didn't know. So my wife was kind of, in a way, she was tricking them. But again, it's so much important. Thank you, Marsha. You know, I'm sorry it's easy. It's very easy to make you. I would if you came to visit. What is your favorite dish? My favorite dish, look at me. My favorite dish is every damn thing. But Marsha, thank you for that invitation.
Oh, that's sweet.
You know, it is sweet because, see, I remember when I was once talking about I want to eat hot water cornbread because my wife could make it so good, and so many people sent me recipes and it was good, you know. But the point is that it's just something about when certain people make food. Like my grandmother could make these really good rolls, and they were so delicious, you know. Like I hear, like, you know, my grandmother made us sit down, and we used to always had to use our knife and fork. And so then I used to want to be a spy, you know. So I used to want to be like James Bond. So I wanted to learn how to hold my fork with in my right hand instead of my left, so they would think I was European. But anyway. So, but the thing is that It's funny how those old grandmoms in the old days, they'll whip your ass if you didn't show the right manners at dinner. You couldn't lay on their sheets. I said to myself, how do they have
shoulder up on? You can't do this at the table.
Yeah. And my grandma would say, don't lay on my sheets. I said to myself, damn, how did you have daddy if you didn't want to lay on your sheet naked? I don't know. I don't know. But again, in the sense is that it's trying in a sense to do things. Marsha Bynum, she says, Christmas dinner. My kids insisted on me doing the whole 9 yards. Dang, it is so good though. That's right. That night, that right trick them kids. That's right. You got to trick them. But like my wife, she would start around Christmas. She would start cooking 2 weeks ahead. We've been already ate up 2 sets of cookies, gingerbread cookies, cakes, and all that type of stuff. But and she would have the kids do have the kids participate, and they liked it. My son came. Yeah, I'm gonna tell on you, baby, with your old ass. You're 57 years old. This guy, he was in the Navy. He's in the Navy. He came home for Christmas and said, "Where's my stocking?" You in the Navy, man. You in the Navy. He was wondering where's, because my wife had they all had a stocking.
Everybody had a stocking.
And put something in it. When he came home around Christmas, he was wondering where his stocking was. You're 20 years old. You're over there in the Navy, chasing them women in the Philippines and all over the damn place. What?
But did she have it? Did she put it up?
She brought the stocking. You know how mama, she brought the stocking out. I'll be coming home. What the hell are you doing here? I wanted breakfast. Breakfast for him. Let him go and eat somewhere else. Hell, he moved out the house. Let him eat somewhere else. But again, it's understanding the seasons, understanding the time, and sharing your life. See, this is the Beauty family. The Beauty family is you got to find a way. You got to find a way to share your love with somebody else. And that's what I think. That's what I think is the most important thing. You see, is you got to try to find a way to share the love. And grandmas, they knew how to share that love, and good women know how to share that love too. Most good women can cook okay. I didn't say they can cook good. They can cook okay.
They're not gonna kill you.
If they kill me, I got it. If they kill me, I got to eat it. So what the hell? I always tell
you feel the love in the food, and people can't. You can give somebody the exact recipe, and it does not come out the same way. I've seen that happen so many times that I have to account it to that X factor, that soul that people can't see or judge or quantify, because it mattered. That essence of that person who's putting in whatever it is that they're putting into this meal, that other person doesn't have it. So it tastes okay. That's why you can go to your favorite restaurant and they make it the way you want it to be made. And then you go somewhere else and they have the exact same thing and it's nice, but it's not good, it's not the same.
Yeah. We used to have a restaurant downtown, and I hated when they went out of business because they used to make some really good steaks. I like a good steak and potato. Margaret says, yes. My kids did the same thing with Easter baskets too. Yeah, my kids, when they were little, they wanted to eat the baskets. They had to have a toy in it and all that type of stuff. They don't make that. They don't make the good things now. So I don't know. But again, sometimes I like to be around my sons and my daughter, and when they're talking about when they were growing up, and to see how they remember so many good things about what my wife and what we did. I remember we used to go to the museum downtown, and when we would come back on the bus, because we had about 4 kids in, and we'd go to the museum and we would get their balloons, and we would tie their balloons around their wrists so it wouldn't fly away, so we had to tie it around their wrists. So we'll be walking like little chickens, they'd be like the little chicks behind. But the thing is, it's so beautiful, and I thank God so much. I thank God so much that he gave me a wonderful wife. He gave me some okay kids. No, that I can always find fault in them. Then people say they're not that bad, but you can always find fault with your kids. Just because they're not bad to you, they can be bad to me. But the point is that they're not as bad as they could be. And I think that when you think about the seasons that we go through, when you think about the fact, in the sense is that we all had to try to learn to live, we all got to try to learn to love, we all got, in a sense, respect our fellow man. And even though we run into shadow people, even though we run into people who are autumn people who come into your life like a thief, and then in a sense they're gone, you see. But the only thing is this, is that you don't want them to create trauma, you know. It's almost 10 o'clock. I mean 11 o'clock your time. Is there anything you want to finish the show with?
Well, definitely hit the subscribe and the like button if you haven't done that yet. Maybe share out these reality checks that we're having, because I think a lot of y'all are having some thoughts that you don't think people care about. And come to find out, I have a billion thoughts that I would love to talk about, and maybe you will land on a topic that was something you were thinking about. I really wanted to talk about seasons today just because I think that people put permanence on things that should end, and then people end things that are just beginning because they're unaware or they don't know how to progress past whatever season that they were introduced in. So then now we're in this stuck phase of wanting to use the people around us, or wanting to be more social, or wanting to be more connected to each other, but there's a disconnect. And the disconnect is because communication stops. Whatever it was that got us to the beautiful season that meant that I wanted to be around you more than I was already around you, I think that people should stop and explore what those feelings are, and then make a plan if there is no plan. I get it. You know, sometimes you really hit it off with somebody and it's just chemistry, but that chemistry could go somewhere if you wanted it to go somewhere, or not. Maybe it's just to feel good right now. And if that's the case, I think that that's okay if we're honest about it, and then nobody is expecting more. But what happens is what Dr. Winter said earlier, people just ghost. They're gone. Shadow people working in the dark who were only there to get something. And once they've received whatever it was that they got, well, tough cookies for you, because you should have asked when I was around. And then maybe if you had that conversation, you would have known that I'm not that person you thought I was. And then maybe you don't give so much, or maybe you start charging more. But we can't even have those thoughts without having that initial conversation of, what are we doing here? Is it just as it feels good? Okay, let's feel good. Or is it something else? Like, and I like the something else's, because those last, you know?
Yeah. You know, Russell Richardson said, for everything, there's a season. You hit it off, man. You hit it off. There is a season. And I think we have to show that. Tomorrow on my 3 p.m. show, I'm going to have Baquette. And Baquette is going to be talking about a mother's wound, and the history, how Black women have obtained this wound. You see, and I think that it's a very important show. I hope you guys will join me tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Time, and listen to this presentation. And Baquette is going to open you up and see the one thing I love about her book, the Black mother's wound, is that she had exercises in it. Like I don't know if I told you guys, when I was playing football, I used to always think about hitting my mom, and that my best tackles was when I tried to knock the hell out of somebody. And my wife said, "Damn, whoa, you know, that's terrible." And then my daughter said, "Pops, damn, I don't see why you didn't become a woman abuser." I said, "That's because of your mama. Your mama taught me to love her and how to love the world." And so then the thing is this, is that it's some good exercises that Baquette has, and it's about writing, it's about thinking. So join me tomorrow at 3 p.m. and Baquette is going to explain to you how the Black mother got this wound. I want to thank everybody for showing. You guys have a good evening. Good night, everybody.